Hello again, and welcome to Interview with DJ Nocturna. And today we are charting the higher octave with GW Childs the fourth, who's back
Hi.
at the show. I think the last time we did this was a while ago, but it was not on it was on just audio, I think, right?
Yeah, it was. Yeah, it was. Yeah, that's what I remember anyway. This is our first video, and this is
It's,
exciting.
it's before I even did my YouTube channel, so that's been a while. But I'm so glad you're on the show because, you're a very big, significant person in Hawaii because you're one of the few goth bands that ever like started here, you know?
Oh,
I mean, if you want to call that a goth band, you're still in Eclipse. But
hmm.
yeah, so it was. I mean, that's why I was like, wow. And then I'm a big, big fan of Soil and Eclipse. I mean, I played all those songs, Sentence Me. When I put that on the dance floor, everybody ran to the floor. Sentence me. And then everybody just ran to the floor. It was great. I love that. And then, of course, Raisin Black. You guys worked together.
Hmm. Hmm. We've gotten to me and Ramel actually got back together again recently. We did a single together. The last one I did, Burning Futures. We
Oh,
had a
okay.
Ramel regulation version on there. He's rocked out on the guitars on it. It was really, really
Oh
good.
yeah, yeah. He was here. They did a show here.
Oh, nice.
Maybe like 5 years ago. Maybe I'm getting that mixed up with the time, but it seems like it was not that long ago. Yeah, they did a show, and I'm sure they'll do it again. It was fun. Yeah.
I hope so. No, he's so talented. And by the way, it's wonderful to be back, by the way. I'm so excited to be back, by the way. It's wonderful.
Yeah. No, I mean, you're still doing music, right?
Oh yeah. Oh
You
yeah.
have, you have this new album coming out. It's called Spectrum on the COP, and it's all a bunch of colors, which is just wonderful. Yeah.
Weird because it's new from as a release, but I actually wrote it in 2018. So it's weird for me finally releasing it because it's kind of a lot of them have become like family songs in a way, it's like kind of internal with me and the boys. So it's like, in fact, they were on some of them too. So it's like it's been an interesting journey with I don't have anything other in my discography that's like it. It's unique, so.
I know. So, tell us how that all began. I mean, why did you pick Spectrum and all the colors? I mean, that's very unique indeed.
So I identify as someone on the spectrum as first off. So that's a big part of the name right there. It's not just, but at the same time, when I started, and the other thing too is that I struggle with synesthesia to a fair degree, which has made
Oh,
it kind of difficult in school. Like I see colors when I play, when I hear music. So
wow.
it's kind of it's and when I'm even imagining it, especially when I started daydreaming, I can kind of get lost in it. I can, and so it's a major part of my kind of universe, but it's also kind of like a double-edged sword with me a little bit because it's made it a little difficult to with reality sometimes, sort of.
So, for people that don't know what that means, can you explain how that's connected to Spectrum?
So when I close my eyes and I hear music, I see like a spectral image. I see colors moving around.
Wow.
It makes it difficult to want to do anything else once I start doing it, once I start seeing it. And if I when like if say when I was in school, if I would start daydreaming for a minute, I would start seeing the colors.
Oh,
Certain numbers remind me of colors, certain words,
wow.
vibes too.
Oh,
So it's like constantly living in color to a certain degree. And it's so I've been kind of trying to so I'd kind of pushed past it to a fair degree, but in 2018, I had something kind of hit me so hard. And I hadn't been doing music in a while too, up until 2018. I'd been doing a little bit with Soil and Eclipse, like off Bandcamp, but I wasn't I didn't have a record contract. Nothing was going on really at that point. And so I started, I had something hit me pretty hard. And and I remember walking down the street, I mean, skating down the street right after it hit me. And I was walking back and I walked up through an alleyway behind a church. And
mm-hmm.
And I was kind of trying to grapple with it. And I was like, I have to walk back and I'm going to have to see my son's face. And I'm going to have to pretend that everything's okay. And it's not. It's really bad. And and so I was like, I sat there and I stopped, had a smoke for a second, and I just looked around, and all of a sudden it was like the green and all the weeds and the trees and everything just became really intense. And I just started hearing this sing to me, green, green, and it was like a kid's song, you know?
Mhm.
And I was like, rather than me focusing on the shit that just went down, I'm going to focus on this. So I recorded it as I heard it on a voice recorder on my phone. And I just walked back up. I didn't look at anything else. I just interacted with the keys with my
Mhm.
kids and I focused on that. And so a week later, I was in talking with Cop about coming back on for a record to do a new single, which
Mhm.
green. It went that fast. And then I started after what happened went down, my whole life changed. I had to move. I had to get a new house. I had to start over again, and had to build a new life for myself, me and my kids.
Mhm.
So I remember I was walking, and for a time I was living with my parents when I was setting all this up. When I remember walking outside one day and I was having like one of those moments, kind of like when you're trying to rebuild your life, you know, and just things are kind of, and I just saw the blue sky and I was like, all of a sudden I just started singing about blue and this, and it was like, it was very, very
Mhm.
succinct. It happened.
Interesting.
Yeah. And so that ended up being the next single was Blue after that. And then, and so
Oh.
since we were in, since in the next song, you know, I wasn't really thinking about it as I was doing these, but the next song I ended up writing a song called Silver where I was grappling with old age at that point.
Oh, so they all have is that why they're arranged in that way? The silver is on the 10th song?
Actually, originally I was going to release it in a different order where it started with green with exactly the order I wrote it in.
Oh, okay.
If you start it from green, actually, it is the actual order, except for silver. Silver would have come after. I mean, and I'm going to release the actual different playlist orders because certain playlists do different things with this album. Like if you play it from, like if you play it starting from green, blue, and then orange, it sounds like it's all bit crushed as it works its way all the way up to.
I never tried doing that before. I wonder, yeah, I wonder if you rearrange it and people listen to it in a different format, if it would change things, like things would be going on in the brain.
It's exactly that. It's
Yeah.
meant to be like the frequency band spectrum as well.
Yeah. Wow, that's amazing. Wow.
Sample.
I never thought about that. That's kind of
So
yeah.
you can do a bit crushed version in reverse. You can do a bit crushed version going from 16 to 8-bit. You can do and then you can also do it in different color modes as well. But because you can also do like what the way I like to think of it, because Indigo and Spectrum I wrote from like a starseed point of view.
Oh
Really.
yeah, yeah. Okay. Yeah, that makes sense.
I had my son sing Indigo for the chorus too, because I wanted to speak about, you know, kind of like what we're leaving for the kids on
Hmm.
top of it. And that was very blatant in that song on top of it. And I was like,
Hmm.
just so you can hear who I'm talking about, I'm gonna have him sing the chorus on top of it.
So
And
is it both son or just one?
just one of them at the time. My other one was one at the time. He couldn't sing yet.
Okay, yeah, yeah. He'll go,
And
daddy, daddy, daddy.
yeah, yeah, yeah. He wants to do white really bad, and we started working on it, but then he got shy once we started working on white. And we have pink and turquoise in there that we worked on together too, but those just weren't quite ready yet. So,
Oh,
and
so
then
you got all the colors. So, I was gonna ask you, what about black? Black is not, it's not in the song. It's not in the selection.
black, as we were black was originally done with Soil and Eclipse, so it's on the mirror, and there may end up being like a GW4 version of black at some point because it doesn't really that version doesn't kind of fit the I want to that one's a pretty dark version of black. I'd love to do one where it's kind of the other side of black because there's a cool side to black too. The one when I wrote the black that's on the mirror, that was right after a divorce. So it's a
Oh God.
real, yeah.
It's a great album though. You know, like I told you, I mentioned to you, I did a CD release party for that album. And when
Oh,
that album came out in '08, and it was just like violin was just like, you know, I just love the way that it just go. Once I play that, people went to the floor, even with Sentence Me, and I would play that on my show, A Feast of Friends on KTUH all the time. So in the clips was one of those playlist bands and that I would play in as a certain playlist, you know.
oh,
Yeah.
I appreciate that. So I love doing Soil and Eclipse. We had a good time with it. It's I'm still really fond of the music that we did. I'm fond of the writing experience with Jay. And
Yeah.
I think I mean it's powerful stuff. It's but the air the I started going in just a completely different direction after a while, and it was getting to the point where it's just like I could pretend to do this, but it's not going to be real at this point. There's some other things I want. Like I'm really into hip hop. I'm really into like the Beastie Boys, Beck, LL Cool J. I'm into,
Yeah.
and I'm
Yeah.
also really into like blues, R&B, and I just wanted a chance to kind of be able to spread my wings with all of those sides. As a musician, you know, it's like you want to challenge yourself to a certain
Yeah.
degree, and that's not. I mean, Jay is an amazing musician, an amazing vocalist, but he was not. It's not some of the areas I wanted to go in were not. I could even before the conversation would start, I could tell you he would have said straight up no. You know what I'm saying? It's just not his deal. And
Yeah.
and some of that stuff, especially at a certain point, you just need to be able to make those spur of the moment decisions on your own,
Yeah.
artistic too. So it just kind of came down with it.
But you know, I mean, the good thing is that you guys started in, you know, Soil Eclipse in Hawaii, right? That's where it all began. And so we, you know, Raising Black is the same thing. So, you know, I was just saying to one of my friends the other day, we need to have a new goth band to start out in Hawaii. You know, we need goth bands around here, you know.
Yeah.
I mean, we definitely do because I mean, there are so many goth bands all over the place. They start out here, they start out there, but nothing in Hawaii, you know. And then I thought about you guys and yeah, I mean, so I mean, you actually moved here, right? You were in the military and then you
I
lived here in Hawaii?
Yeah, I was there for 3 years, and I started off playing in Pulse Legion. I got to be friends with Sam's brother, Josh, who Sam was the keyboardist in Pulse Legion. He started it with John. Sam's brother worked in the hospital I worked at, Triple Army Medical Center. So I'd see him every morning, and he started telling me about all Courtney's events, and I started going out to those at night and taking a lot of my military bros. I was a kind of a heavy drinker when I first moved out there,
Yeah.
and so I was partying a lot at first, but then I got to be friends with Sam, Josh, and then eventually John, and we started. Sam was doing like a Nine Inch Nails cover band at first, and they were playing down at like it was the Blue something. I forgot the name of it. Blue.
Mm,
There's a few different clubs, and
mm,
we I played a few of those gigs with them because I started playing in bands when I was 12 before I went in the army. I'd been playing in different like Cure and like my first band opened up for Christian Death actually when I was really
oh,
young, and then in Dallas, and then we and then I played many gigs before I went in the army. I was paying off gear actually was the reason I was in the army in the first place. Is
mhm.
I'd bought samplers and stuff like that, and then I had to have a way to pay back. so so um so yeah, we started so I started doing stuff with Sam, and as we were playing together, I was really struggling with alcohol. So I eventually quit, and his family kind of helped me quit at the same time too.
Mhm.
Why kind of helped me quit in a lot of ways. I stopped when I was 22, and I never drank again after that. And so when I
That's
quit, that's when I got serious. And Pulse Legion started up. We were playing shows all the time for Courtney, and then they ended up moving to California. And then I'd been when I recorded with Pulse Legion over at Daniel's place, Daniel J. he Cynthia Fenner was there, and I was talking to her, and I let her hear some of the stuff that I was writing on my own, which ended up becoming Soil and Eclipse.
Oh,
And
wow.
so as soon as Pulse Legion left, I started talking, looking around, and Sam had met Jay, who was over at Schofield at the time, also in the Army. And we started talking, and I was like, dude, I've already got gigs lined up, but we just need to get the set down. So probably the very first album was the set list we were playing that Cop signed us with a year
Oh,
later.
yeah, yeah.
Fast it all went
Wow.
to.
Yeah, Sin is back and she lives here now. So, but back then she had that store where she sold like cigarettes and right?
Milk Bar, right?
Milk bar. Yeah, right, right. Oh, you got a good memory. Yeah. So, yeah, I'm sure she's gonna watch this interview and say hi to her. Yeah, I mean,
I love you, Sin. You're amazing.
yeah.
Yeah, no,
You know,
she's a force, man. She really is. She if if she was behind you, I mean, she'd move the world for you back then. I just loved that about her. She was very, very kind to us.
yeah, she's a wine sommelier and a really good one, and she makes like the best um lamb.
I, I bet she can cook.
I mean, I'll tell you, you're gonna love her lamb. There's no one in that. I'm gonna say that in this video, but nobody can make lamb the way she can. She
Wow.
really she knows how to pair it to with the right wine. So yeah. So that's well, it's a small world. So, I mean, so glad that you started it here and sad that you have to move, but I know you're back home to where you're originally from, right?
Mhm. Although I'll come out there in a New York minute. I'll
I know you will.
back to Oahu, especially. That's just my old tromping ground right there. I mean, I've never been to a place that had such a cool music scene before. Like you
We still
really
have,
you
yeah,
really become
yeah.
part of the scene. That scene supports you out there. It's really, really amazing. And so I miss it. It wasn't like Dallas at all. Dallas is very different. And
And
yet,
uh,
yeah, 1,500 people were at the dungeon at any given point, though. You know what I'm saying? It's
right.
small, but it's huge at the same time, too. It's like a blunt fist when everybody
I know
rolls.
you experienced that. Yeah, that's good. You experienced that while you were here.
Courtney was like, I mean, he really took care of us too. I mean, he was just uh I can't say enough about him either. I mean, I mean it's just one of those places that you were to be there at that time, the stars were in alignment because the coolest.
Oh yeah, yeah. And Matt Grimm too, right?
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah, yeah. And all the people that was here. Yeah. We the goth community here, back in the 80s. I think I was part of the 80s scene, because there were different, I guess, evolution of the goth culture here. The early part, the early 80s and then the later 80s and then the 90s and then current. So yeah. But anyway, so this album that you're doing, it's a great title, and I know you're releasing it on Cop. So when are you is it out already?
He'll be out on June 7th.
Oh, June 7th. Okay. Oh, perfect then. Perfect release date. Get this out before the release date.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. No, this is perfect timing. This is wonderful to get to talk about it ahead of time. 'Cause, yeah, I'm trying to line up a show around the same time
Hmm.
here in Texas somewhere. It's been really hard to get booking here because a lot of the venues have closed down.
Oh,
But I'm going out to one on Monday to try to secure one. So hoping for that. Yeah, and a lot of and I've been experimenting with a lot of cover songs as well. So I'm
I
excited.
know. Yeah, you did the Louise because I know you like the Clan of Xymox the Medusa album,
Oh yeah,
right?
no, Atlanta Zymox, they were they changed my life the first time I heard.
Mhm.
I was 13, I think the first time I heard them, and they became like an obsession. I was going to all these different head shops, like hours from where I live, trying to find them on vinyl. And they were playing out here sometimes, and I was not old enough to get in the shows. And
Yeah.
so I had people like taking pictures for me. I was finally able to see them live for Twist of Shadows, and on the Phoenix tour, I actually hung out with them for a bit and backstage and got to talk with Ronnie for a while.
Yeah, yeah. I met him also when I went to right before the pandemic when they played in San Francisco.
Nice. They're
Yeah.
cool.
And you know what? That guy is like timeless.
Really, yeah, no,
He
he is.
looks the same like he's ever looked like in the 80s. He doesn't change his looks, you know?
He doesn't.
Like
He looks the
timeless.
way I saw he looked when I was 18
Mm,
years. I mean,
I
it's not.
know. Like really, and I really mean that. I mean, if anybody has ever seen Ronnie Mornings, I mean, he looks exactly the way he used to look. I mean, he's like total vampire.
Well, hopefully he's getting it from the good way. You know what I'm saying?
The blood. He's sucking all the blood. Yeah.
Hopefully it's good fuel. You know what I mean? Hopefully
Yeah.
it's that meditating a lot. You know.
And I know you've been working with John Pryor a lot, right? Also.
Yep. It's kind of backed off in the last couple of years, but occasionally he still pipes in. He yeah, we John really took me under his wing. He came out here a couple of times to Texas, and we recorded together out here. And he's had a lot to do kind of with my evolution as well in the last couple of years because he was the one that kind of like, hey, why don't we try experimenting with country? Hey, why don't we? Because he used to live here in Texas too, so he's really fond of like the 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 aesthetic. He's
Mm.
fond. He's when the first time we ever talked, he even told me he's like, I've always wanted to merge country into what I'm doing, like my whole. And I was like, awesome, dude. And at the time, it wasn't really. At the time, we were talking about him producing the single for Gold, which is on this album, and that's what Christian set it up for. And then as soon as we started talking, we started talking about country music, and then a few minutes later, we were talking to Christian about doing a country single, and Spectrum was off the map. All the colors just kind of went to the side at that point. So
Yeah.
after we did a few, I did a few singles with John, and I kind of started to rework my image a little bit because before as a GW4, there was nothing really to hang your hat on in terms of pictures or anything like that. It was just like another white dude with a shaved head doing electronic music. John
Yeah.
kind of fill the picture out. I mean, I legitimately grew up on a ranch. I spent a lot of time. I've helped horses give birth before. The
I
cowboy.
know. Yeah, I know you've been riding horses and you- s-
It's a real thing for me, but I kind of hid it for a long time, especially in Soil and Eclipse. When it would come up in Soil and Eclipse too, I got a lot of laughter real fast from it. But at the same time, it was like, dude, that's my heritage right there. It's not really a laughing matter in a lot of ways. And so to meet John and to have like, one of the fathers of electronic goth music say, hey,
Mhm.
you do where you're from is cool and we should do something with it. It was a liberating moment for me. Like it was like, oh yeah. So it's not a joke. Right on. Because I mean, I spent years hiding my accent. I spent years not talking about that I was from Texas because especially in the army, that's the first thing they start making fun of if they find out you're from Texas. And
Really?
I've had girls, you mean even like quit talking to me as soon as I said I was from Texas. And when I was living out in California and other places, like they said, I mean, I even heard them say, "Oh, Texas, ah." I mean, so yeah, it was neat
Mm.
to really kind of have a to kind of get a big brother figure with out of John, and then, but yeah, and during that time working together, he set me straight on some life lessons too that I really got to hand it to him on. I mean, he's been around the block, so I'm very grateful for his influence in my life because things would be very, very different right now, and I
Yeah.
would have not have gotten past some roadblocks that I had before it weren't for him.
Yeah, he's a special soul, a really nice guy, really down to earth, really sweet. I met him in at the Cat Club in San Francisco.
I love the Cat Club. I used to go there a lot, actually.
And then he came to Hawaii, played here, and I know he wants to come back. But yeah, we actually took him to the polo tournament.
No way.
Like yeah, horses polo. Yeah.
That would be fun to see.
I know you would. You probably like that. Yeah, it was so much fun. He loved it.
Oh, I bet. I bet. No,
I mean, it was polo season, so luckily we were able to catch one of the shows, one of the tournaments.
that's so cool. Yeah, I could see him really enjoying that. I really that yeah, those horses are beautiful too. I mean, that's some
And it's right on the North Shore. It's just beautiful. Yeah.
oh wow, I bet it was North Shore.
Yeah. I know you've been with COP for a while now, right? Ever since Soil and Eclipse, right?
Oh
And so
yeah.
you stayed with COP, which is great. And I know Christian, he's been doing a lot, just looking at his website. There's so many new artists and everything. On
Yep.
I know Emily Rohn has been with COP for a long time as well. And you, so I know you and Emily has been I know there are more bands has been there long, but I think you and Emily are one of the longest, I think.
Oh
So
yeah.
yeah, because Emily has been there for a long time, and then there's new ones, of course. I would love to talk to the Cassandra Complex. They're on the label too, right?
That's Rodney Orpheus. Yeah,
Yeah,
he's a
Rodney. Yeah, didn't he remix one of your songs?
yeah, Rodney's been and I've been friends for a long, long, long time. Going back to my video game days as well. He used to when he was with Steinberg, me and him got to be friend. Christian introduced us when they were touring with Front 242. And so when Front 242 and Cassandra Complex played the Maritime Hall, Rodney set me up with the guest list to come out, and that's where I met him the first time too. We'd been talking over email, corresponding up until that point, and after we met, he ended up coming up and having lunch with me at the ranch when I was at Lucasfilm, and we kept in contact. And when I'd go to NAM every year, he was always there because he was always the Steinberg evangelist for a long, long time. And then and he is like one of the best technology evangelists that's ever lived, as far as I'm concerned, too. I mean, that man can
Yeah, he's
sell.
amazing. Yeah. Yeah,
He
one
just
of these days I'll would love to talk to him about his music. But yeah, so I'm really excited for this album. I like the title and I love the color thing, and I know there's more. I'm glad you explained a little bit about that.
Yeah, no, it's there's a lot of different ways of viewing it, which is the way I kind of intended. And the colors too, there's a lot of different sides to them in the way they're written as well. It's meant
So
to,
when you wrote the lyrics or when you wrote the song, did you think about what color they're gonna be in, or did you just had to, after you wrote it, you named it?
well, so Green started off with like a traumatic incident. It was just it hit me so hard that I was that rather than write a song about what happened at the moment, where I'm bitching and complaining and screaming about it. I needed, with what went down, I had to, because I had kids at the time, I needed to come up with something, a way to siphon my emotion without actually expressing it at the same time. So that's just kind of what came out. I mean, I had a traumatic event, and as I was walking away from it, I was in a little foresty area, and I just started hearing a kid song like that was green, 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 and
Mhm.
so as
Wow.
normally I'd be tempted to start writing about the shitty day or whatever. Instead, I was like, you know what? I'm just going to focus on a pretty little song. So when I get back in a few minutes and I see my kids, they don't have to see the heartbreak in my eye. They'll just see dad being whimsical again. And then not long. And so I didn't, and so Green within even 2 days, because it's only 2 days of production on that song. It's exactly the way it went down. And and like 2 days after I wrote it, I sent it to Christian, and a week later we're talking about a record contract, and I hadn't been on a contract for like 10 years at that point. So
Mm.
it made it made anyone that heard it, it made an impression on real fast. And then not long after that, and it was just green. That was it. It was a single. There was no other ideas behind it. But then a couple of months later, at, I was, rebuilding my life. And all of a sudden I walked outside, was tripping out and saw the blue sky, and it kind of calmed me down too. So I started writing another kind of whimsical song, and that ended up being the next single. And then not long after that, I wrote a song called Silver, because I'd been looking in the mirror and seeing the changes in my face and that stuff. So I thought, hey, it'd be cool to write a song about
You
this.
know, I really like how you put gold as number one and silver as the last song, and they're both precious metals, right?
They are, and there's kind of an astrology reason I did that too in the
Oh,
end.
okay.
In my chart, the from a certain way of reading it, my kids are where my heart is in my chart, even. And so, and because that your heart and the Kabbalic stuff aligns with gold, I was like, you know what? I'm going to go ahead and make this the very first one now, where it was going to be the last, because they are my gold. And that's what the song is about, on top of it.
Oh, wow.
I was just like, you know what? Regardless of whether it's the coolest song or the whatever. And the other one too, that's Christian's favorite too. So I mean, so I was like,
It's
you know what?
gold?
Gold, yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Gold was, ever since I made that one, he was just like, that's what got me in the door with John Fryer. He was like, I want John to produce this song. I mean, and and like right after I'd written Gold, I'd written Red, which I'd kind of always wanted to record with John as well. Originally, that was
So
kind of
John produces gold or everything.
didn't end up producing any of them. I produced all of them in the
Oh,
end.
okay, okay, okay.
But originally he was supposed to do Gold, and
Oh, okay.
I'd kind of written Red to be one that he did too. But at once I so like we took, but when John and I got together to talk about doing Gold, we started talking about where I was from in Texas and country music, and he had a real love and a real interest in where I'm from, even even down to my accent. We were talking about even that part of it, and
Mhm.
so we decided to do Tarrant County instead. And so once we decided to do Tarrant County, the colors kind of got pushed to the side. And this was like around 2019 at this point. And so we focused on Tarrant County, and then we ended up doing a few other singles after that. And then we kind of I kind of felt like we'd at that point we'd really explored enough of
Mhm.
that aesthetic that I was, like, I kind of would like to get back to the colors at this point. And so that as soon as we started talking about album, I was like, before we do any other album, I really want to do the colors before I do any other full length. So that's that's where we're at now. And I went back and revisited all of them and kind of redid them and changed them around and kind of updated them beforehand. And coming back to them, it was just like, dude, I'm back home again. I feel like, I mean, this is where I need to be right now. So it's been kind of a full circle, because I took a step away from it a while. Now I'm back with it, and then
Mhm.
stuff that I'm writing for the next. Well, I'm already writing the next album already right now,
Oh,
and it's completely different from Tarrant County and from
oh yeah.
Colors.
So is it more like electronic or not really?
But it's electronic in a genre that it hasn't been in. I've been playing with blues, like the old,
Oh.
and so I've been adapting synthesizer, doing what the old, like, Muddy Waters and like Stevie Ray Vaughan, and
Mhm.
I've been personalizing the synthesizer and the way that they would play it, and then developing it for live so that I could really riff that way with synths and like a keytar,
Mm.
and really
Wow.
jam out with my guitarist and really have a stage show. So that's the next wave for me after, and not only touring the colors, but also I want to build a really, really strong live performance, something that's unique. So, and I've never seen anybody get expressive with synthesizer like that before either, where they're doing lead instruments that way. So I mean,
Yeah.
I don't play guitar very well, and but to be able to speak in the way that those style with in the R&B, the blues style, has been quite a journey. So yeah, and it's like it's a sound I'm kind of adapting, and I haven't heard anybody do it before, so it's been real fun. I mean, it's just it's a, but I'm trying to do it. I've been also playing with it in a way too, where it's not going back into the toxicity of that,
Mhm.
because most of like blues is like cheating songs and like people pissed at life. I want to do a spin of it where it's that kind of energy, but maybe a little bit pointed in a better direction, you know. It's, I wouldn't say necessarily going uplifting, but going in a way where it's a little bit more educated, I guess. So I've been, you know, mixing politics in with it a little bit, you know, uh,
Mhm.
but then and using it as an alchemy, of course, but also just just to be able to re-explore that sound, to be able to re-explore the different like 3/4 and 6/8 different timing, different drum styles. It's just it's nice to be able to step away from 4/4 all the time too. So
So the you know the record cover is all is a picture of a spectrum colors. So tell us about that image.
so I struggled for a long time with trying to get something that really worked, because a rainbow doesn't really cut it. And most of what I was getting image of why it was just a rainbow. And I was like, that's been so many album covers so far. So I just kind of kept experimenting with different platforms up until I found one that I thought really, really set the mood. The what I'm doing isn't a rainbow. It's meant to be my own palette in a certain way. It's meant that's why it's not even called rainbow, because it's not a it's meant to be my palette of colors, you know, just like Van Gogh
Yeah,
was.
yeah. I mean, it's totally it's not a rainbow at all. It's great. I like it. It's
I'm really into the, and I wanted to go into like the whole thing with Indigo, with the spectrum, and with like Saint Germain. I wanted to get into uh ultraviolet as well, you know, and so it was fun to be able to, and so that's the other part of it too, is I wanted it to be definite that it was, we're talking about a spiritual spectrum, you know, specter, you know, so it's, yeah, and I'm glad it's coming across. Cool. That's cool.
yeah, no, I like it. I'm just looking at the album cover and um yeah. Oh, well, thank you for explaining all of that to me because I know it has a lot of meaning. I mean, it's not just spectrum with all these colors and there's no meaning to that. I know there was a lot more. So I'm glad you explained that.
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
thank you for allowing me the opportunity. It's no, it's one of the weirdest albums I've ever done, but it's also the most meaningful one, because I did it with my sons. It's been a way, I mean, it's a way for me to communicate with them, especially at young ages, because they move to color so easily, you know, colors.
That's a good point. Yeah.
And but to be able to kind of do it musically in a way where they understand the moods of those colors too, and kind of the other meanings, like red. I wanted to do something where it's because red's got a lot of different meanings in it, you know. So I wanted to get into the passion side of it, but at the same
Mhm.
time, I also wanted to get into kind of like the darker side of it too, where it's
So
like
would you say indigo would be the color that you resonated with the most? Gold?
indigo and violet for sure. Those are my,
Violet. Oh, okay.
but red is one I'm very, very um acquainted with, especially, you know, when you're angry, that kind of thing. So, and then Yellow actually ended up becoming one of the more profound ones. Even when you listen to it, you don't think it is. But Yellow, I mean, I was inspired off the old stories of the Norse gods when I wrote
Mhm.
that one. So like the and like the early days of the Aegir, and like the way it, there was an author that tied in the Norse mythology with Tolkien, in a really cool way. And I was flabbergasted when I read it. And he had written about how the Norse gods had found the Rheingold in outer space
Oh,
way before it ever came to Earth, and
oh.
that gold was forged into a ring. And it was talking about how the gods were obsessed with it for a short time as a meteorite, and then later on it was encountered on Earth again. And I was like, that's so cool just to think about being a spirit in space looking at a gold meteorite flying through. So I ended up writing about that one on it and how it kind of and then in two how a lot of those mythologies tie in with secret societies right now.
Yeah, no, colors are so fascinating to me because they have meanings, yeah, depending on how you interpret them and the way that you see them.
Oh
So,
yeah.
and they do, there's a vibration behind colors, right?
Oh yeah.
Um, like for example, look at my background, for example. It's red, right?
Beautiful.
Yeah, so it was really interesting. I don't know if you can see it because I don't think you can because so there's somebody walking in the back. There's nobody back there. Okay,
Okay.
but sometimes I would see like an image of somebody walking, like for example on this side. Like earlier I was seeing some people walking, but there's nobody back there. There's nothing back there.
That's
But
cool.
there's some kind of weird effect that makes somebody see, I see it again.
Doing it right now.
Can you see it?
Yeah, no, I totally see it.
Yeah, so I feel like I don't know what that is, but it's kind of so I don't know. You know how some people can see colors. Maybe you can because you have that synesthesia. I don't know. I don't know what you see in that red color, but it's kind of trippy. Sometimes I see it, sometimes I don't, and I
Yeah,
don't know.
you back there. It looks like it reminds me a lot of remember the Blade movies?
Yeah,
It reminds me of like when they were in like the Blade, like some of the vampire headquarters and they had those mats up in front of the wall. I totally feel like at any moment like one of those vampires is gonna jump out. It's
could be. Yeah,
really cool.
there's nobody back there. It's just really strange how sometimes I feel the spirits can connect with colors because it's in a different frequency. You
Oh
know,
yeah.
it's a frequency. So when you see something like that, because if that was a different color, I probably won't see something. It'll probably be different. It's just weird. It's just interesting how. So that I'm glad we're talking about colors because I could totally relate to what you're talking about.
Oh
And
yeah.
it's deep. It's more to it than that, and I'm sure. I hope you explore the other colors that you didn't get to put on there and put it in another album because I think it'd be interesting.
Yeah, I want to do monochrome next.
Yeah.
It's all the different like shades of gray, brown, black, and white. That's my kind of my next ambition right there. I
Hmm.
may do another. I'll probably do. Well, it could change in any minute with me, but at the moment, that's kind of my next venture. I'm thinking, but if I don't go full force with the blues stuff for the next stuff, but yeah, monochrome I want to do next, and then I started one on the Kabbalic Sephira as well that I want to go back and finish up at some point too.
Yeah, we'll talk about it next time you do it again. I would love to hear about your new projects.
That'd
Always
be
interesting. But your album is gonna be released on Comp International on June 7th. We're looking forward to that. It's called Spectrum, and it's 10 songs from gold to silver all the way. So if anybody want to check that out, and it kind of matches the name of my show, which is charting the higher octave. I would
yeah,
talk colors. Yeah, it totally does. But yeah. The name of my show actually, the charting the higher octave, is all connected to music and astrology.
I love that. I love what you post on astrology, by the way, too.
I know I love astrology. That's the higher octave, you
Mhm.
know. Neptune is the higher octave of Venus. They have all these higher octaves.
It's the higher spectrum.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah, because yeah, I mean, I just feel like
Pluto's the higher octave of Mars. They all have the higher octave, just like music, right? So high, there's an octave. Yeah. And
once
then
it,
it's all charts, and then just like the musical chart, this is like a spectrum. It's like a chart, right?
Yeah, and like I feel like once it gets up into the ultraviolet, that there's a whole other spectrum of colors that
Yeah.
you can't really
You're
see.
you're really exploring the whole mind there, the whole mindset, you know. You like going, yeah, when you change those, when you go to those different colors. Yeah. That's why rainbows, they have a meaning behind. We see rainbows here all the time in Hawaii.
Yes, you do.
Every day, practically I would see a rainbow. And you kind of wonder, right? Rainbows, that's why they're special because
I
they're,
still have a Hawaiian license plate actually that has the rainbow
yeah,
on it.
we're the rainbow state. We
What a
really are.
wonderful thing to be known for too. I mean,
Hmm.
I see it too as like the 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 tribes, the North American tribes, all have a legend about the rainbow warriors coming back. And so that was another reason, what thing that spurred me with, I think, a little bit too, is that if you want to see something take place in the world, you gotta sometimes you have to actively be a participant in it. So I think the more people that stand up
Mm.
that are neurodivergent, that do have different perspectives, I think when those are put on the table along with some of the more mainstream perspectives, you get a chance, and especially when they're musician artists always bring a new perspective. So it's just neat to be able to kind of be active in that. And so and to be able to have my sons active in that too, because they're like all of the kids, they're inheriting this, so.
Hmm. Yeah, well, you're a great dad, so I'm glad you got your son involved in one of the songs. And I'm wishing you the very best with this album and good luck. And I'm looking forward to the next one as well. But so how if people want to get the music, what's the best way?
It's going to be out on Apple. It's going to be out on Amazon. It's going to be out on Bandcamp. Bandcamp is always, for musicians, always preferred
Hmm.
because it's a different share for us and everything like that. Um, but and I'm starting to do more stuff with my Bandcamp crowd because I have a lot of cover songs, so I'm starting to kind of give some of those away in them as well. I'm trying, and then I'm a sound like all of the one thing I didn't mention about Spectrum as well is that all of the sounds on there are all custom to every song. There's no all of the synthesizers were each one was built for each song. There's no like
Mm.
even down to the drums. So I'd like to do a sound bank for synthesizers as well, that I'm going to start kind of rolling out in different forms here pretty soon. I may do like a gold expansion, and I may do a green expansion, for
Mm.
like for Reason, for Ableton Live, for different synth platforms that I'm into. Because I worked on a couple of the different software synthesizers, like Reason. I was one of the sound designers for it. I mean, my presets are in there when you load up one of those synthesizers, and so I want to be able to add to that, you keep that going as well. So I'll be giving away some of the, or not giving, but releasing the sound banks at some point too, along with it. Um, and so that's going to be fun. And so
Yeah.
I've got drums that I want to show off. I've got synth parts, and it's not for everybody, but it's but
That's wonderful. Yeah, I'm looking forward to your new stuff when you come out with it and playing this interview. I'll be sure to I'll tag you as well and of course COP COPINT.com.
man,
Yeah, big shout out to Christian. I haven't seen, I mean I know he's been like he lives in San Francisco, right? So he's been just doing stuff.
he's in Oakland. He's in
Yeah,
Oakland.
Oakland. Yeah, Oakland. Yeah. I know his wife is a great like pastry. She does pastry stuff.
Oh yeah,
Yeah,
yes.
amazing. Yeah. I have yet to meet Christian actually, and I go there quite a bit, but one of these days.
Oh
I'm,
yeah, they're.
I'm actually going to San Francisco in July to see Jaw Wobble.
Oh wow,
Yeah, he's playing. Can you believe that? He's playing the Public Image Limited album that he was in.
awesome.
Yeah, that album that's just like the one of, is like the best album by Pill. that he was in. He actually redid it on his own. It's all bass.
They were doing a bed and breakfast for a while, Jackie and Christian, and so I don't know if they still are, but you might,
Oh yeah. Oh wow.
because you
Yeah.
get they bake for their guests and stuff like that in the morning. Is from what I heard, it was pretty cool.
Yeah.
Um,
Well, one of these days I will. Yeah, everybody should check out COPINT, the Cop International. They have all these artists. Young, and I interview quite a bit of these guys already, you know. Young Sister, oh my God, I love them. Of course, uh Black Needle Noise, Vaseline, all so many Azam Ali, uh Jean-Marc Liederman,
that's
Emily
a
Brown,
group of people, and they're really
Ed
cool. All of
Turner.
them too. I mean, like, I love John Mark. Vaseline is. I mean, we've gotten to be really good friends with Yvette.
Yeah, yeah, oh, she's great. Yeah, they're all amazing. Yeah, I'm just so glad that I was able to meet up with these guys. But thank you so much for joining me on the show and talking about your music.
Thank you for having me. It's been wonderful to get to catch up with you a little bit.
Yeah, I hope you come back to Hawaii and you know come visit when you can.
I would
Yeah,
love that. I would love that. Any.
it's different now from before. I think it's changed quite a bit. You'd be surprised.
I don't know if I'm ready for that.
It's not like before. There's a whole new development in this area called Kaka'ako.
Wow.
And yeah, so it wasn't like before. Yeah. When did you leave here?
I'm up to 97.
Oh, yeah, a lot of stuff changed.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's not the same, but we still got some old stuff. Some stuff is still here.
I miss living in Pearl City and going down to the grocery store. I think it was the Safeway down the street and getting those huli huli.
Yeah.
That was $5 for a huli huli chicken, man. Those are the
Oh my
days.
God. Holy chicken. Well,
Yeah.
yeah. But great album. Thank you so much for joining me and we'll put it up before June 7th for the release date.
Thank you so much.